Hi, in this video we're going to take a quick look at how to set a form or a quiz in your classroom as an assignment for your pupils to complete. So if we take this is my kind of example classroom, and it's a good idea, if you're doing these things the first time, to set up an example classroom you can use just to try stuff out. So what we're going to do first of all is we're going to look at how we would go about creating an assignment and attaching a form that we already have. And to do that we simply go to Create, Assignment, and then at the bottom here, we want to add a file from Drive. And in here, we would want to look at the form. So for example, that's the one that we've just been working on recently there, turning form into a quiz. So if we insert that, you will see that that now appears as part of the assignment. So I'm just going to call this quiz assignment and go through a couple of wee points that are worth bearing in mind. So the first one is this locked mode button. If we turn that on or off, that controls whether the quiz will be completed in locked mode. Now, locked mode is only available for Chromebooks, so if all your pupils are using Chromebooks, that will simply lock them out of using any other websites or going to any other tabs, and it will notify you if they close the quiz and then come back into it by sending you a message to your Gmail account. It doesn't mean that it won't save their progress if their Chromebook runs out of battery, for example. It just means, as I say, it will notify you if they've left it and come back into it. So it makes it easier to monitor assessments. The second thing is grade importing. It's a good idea to keep that switched on if you want to be able to bring in the marks from your form into your classroom gradebook, because that allows you to do that automatically when you've marked all the questions in the quiz. And over here, in our points value, it's a good idea to make sure that that matches the number of points that are actually in your quiz. So if we look at the top here, we can see that in our quiz there's a total of 14 points. So we would want to set this here to be 14 points. Now, if you don't do that, what will happen when you do grade importing is if you leave that 100, I believe it will scale the points. So say, for example, if a pupil got 7 out of 14, it would change that to 50 out of 100. So it will scale it up as though it was a percentage, essentially. You can also, as usual, apply a due date or place this assignment in a topic, same sort of things that you would usually do, and choose which students you want to assign it to. Having done this, when you assign that quiz, every pupil in your class will basically be able to access the quiz and they will complete it, and it will record within the quiz each of their individual responses. So it's not that you will see lots of different copies of that form. A form is kind of different from other Google Docs in that it's a single document, but all of the responses are stored within that single document. So if we assign that, we will see that we'll now have a quiz assignment here. And if any pupils complete that, we can have a look at how that looks later in a different video, but that's it being assigned. Now, there is also an option here called a quiz assignment. Now, a quiz assignment really is just the same approach, but it allows you to create a blank new form that's attached to an assignment straight from the outset. So you can go into that and you can set it up by adding your own questions and so on and so forth. It gives you essentially the same outcome. It just means that if your intention is to create a quick quiz that's attached to an assignment, it takes that step of creating the quiz separately out of the whole process. I personally prefer to make my quizzes as separate documents so that I can reuse them in separate assignments more easily, and I can place those forms into whichever folder I want. Whereas if you created a quiz in this case, it will place the file for that form that the quiz is based off of in the classroom folder for this class and that assignment. As I say, it doesn't really make much difference practically, but it's just worth bearing in mind that's the main difference. So going back to here, we'll just get rid of that. One thing to be aware of is if you are reusing an assignment that you have used previously that has a quiz attached, so say for example you have 3 classes and they're all doing the same topic, and you want to reuse that assignment post, it's really important to bear in mind that if you reuse the assignment post without making a new copy of the form, all of the respondents from across your 3 different classes' responses will go into that same form. That's not necessarily a huge problem if you're going to mark them all together anyway, but it can make it a bit more difficult to kind of break down the marks between classes because they're all kind of merged together in a single form. So if you are reusing a post here, we'll just go and reuse a post and we'll reuse that quiz assignment from this class. So quiz assignment, you'll see that down at the bottom here, we have this option, create new copies of all attachments. And this is one of the very few occasions when I would recommend that you do that, because if you create a new copy of the attachment, that means that in this copied version of that assignment, it has made a new copy of your quiz, and that will be separate. So the group of pupils completing this will have all their responses in this form, and the group of pupils that complete the other one will have theirs in that. So that's essentially how you go about creating your quiz assignment and attaching it to your classroom. It's a pretty straightforward process. There's not a lot of complication to it. And in another video later on, we'll talk about how we can mark those forms when they've come back in from our pupils.